Long before churches stood on the red earth and hymns echoed across the valleys, the village lived by laws older than memory, laws passed down through firelight stories and the voices of elders long gone. These laws were not written on paper. They were written in fear. Fear of the unseen, fear of angering the spirits, fear of what might happen if the gods were displeased. The people believed the world was fragile, balanced carefully between blessing and disaster. One wrong act, one broken taboo, could invite drought, disease, or death. And so, life was lived cautiously, always watching, always appeasing.
My brothers, something has gone wrong in this land. When I woke before the sun, the goats did not bleat, the chickens did not scatter, everything was quiet. All my animals, no wounds, no sound. The gods are angry again. We need to sacrifice to appease the gods of the land.
The birth of a child was both joy and danger. When a woman went into labor, the village waited not only for new life, but for signs. The child's position, the time of birth, the number of cries, everything mattered. And when twins were born, the waiting turned into dread. The elders would gather under the old tree. The diviner would cast signs and speak in riddles. The people would avert their eyes. Twins, they believed, were not natural. They were said to confuse the spirit world. Some claimed they were a curse. Others believed they were a test from the gods. If allowed to live, calamity could follow. No one wanted to be responsible for that. The mother would hold her babies tightly, her joy swallowed by terror. She had carried them for months, felt them move beneath her heart, dreamed of their future. But now she was told they did not belong. The father stood nearby, torn apart. To protect his family, he was expected to surrender his children. To resist was to risk the anger of the gods and the judgment of the village. And so, generation after generation, innocent lives were taken. Not because the people were cruel, but because they were afraid. This fear shaped many parts of life. When drought came, sacrifices were offered, sometimes animals, sometimes humans. When sickness spread, the afflicted were accused of carrying curses. Some were abandoned, some were cast out, some were killed to cleanse the land. Justice was swift, but merciless. Order existed, but compassion was limited. The gods were powerful, but distant. Appeasement was constant, but peace was rare. Then, one season, strangers arrived. They came quietly, without force. They did not mock the elders or destroy the shrines. They listened first. They learned the language. They sat with the people. They carried a message that sounded strange, almost dangerous. They spoke of one God, not many, a God who made the heavens and the earth, a God who did not demand human blood, a God who loved before he judged. They spoke of Jesus Christ, a man who healed the sick instead of abandoning them, a Savior who welcomed children instead of fearing them, a king who gave his own life rather than taking the lives of others. The elders were cautious. How can a God be strong, they asked, if he does not punish immediately? How can order remain, they wondered, without fear? The strangers did not argue loudly. They told stories. They spoke of a cross. They spoke of forgiveness. They spoke of love stronger than curses. Some villagers laughed, others were uneasy. Many listened in silence, their hearts unsettled by hope. Then one night, twins were born again. The news spread quickly. The village gathered, as it always had. The rituals began. But this time, something was different. The mother did not hide. She stood, trembling, holding her children. She had listened to the stories. She had heard of Jesus. "These children," she said, her voice breaking, "have done no evil." The elders hesitated. Fear pressed in on them. What if the spirits were angered? What if disaster followed? But one elder, older than the rest, spoke slowly. "We have lived many years," he said. "We have obeyed the gods, and yet fear has never left us." Silence fell. Another voice joined, then another. A small group, those who had listened to the strangers, stepped forward. "What if," one asked quietly, "we have misunderstood the will of the divine?" The decision took hours. Fear does not loosen its grip easily, but that night, the twins were spared. Days passed. The rains came as they always had. The crops grew. No sickness followed. No disaster struck. The village waited, tense. Nothing happened. Whispers spread, not of fear, but of relief. The people began to wonder. If the gods had not punished them, then what had they feared all along? Slowly, other practices were questioned. Why sacrifice a person when Christ had already offered himself? Why cast out the weak when Jesus healed the weak? Why live under curses when forgiveness was possible? Change did not come overnight. Some resisted. Some clung to the old ways, but others felt something new growing within them, a peace they had never known. Christianity did not erase the village's identity. Drums still sounded at celebrations. Elders were still respected. Community remained strong. But fear was no longer the foundation. Love replaced it. Children were no longer seen as threats, but as blessings. Women found dignity and protection. The sick were cared for, not feared. The people discovered a truth their ancestors had longed for. Fear can control behavior, but only love can change the heart. And in that change, the village did not lose itself. It found freedom